Kate says, got to see your speech at the city council. Great job. How did it feel? Felt cool. I did not live stream it, you guys. I was a little nervous, just in general, and I just didn't want anything else to like just be on my mind, so I did not live stream it. But people there filmed it, and shout out to DC LA 420, who took the feed, I guess, from public access and put it on YouTube. He ripped it off of the public access feed and put it on YouTube. I was literally walking back to my car, or my girlfriend's car, actually. She drove, but I was walking back with my girlfriend, and I was like, man, I wish I had better footage of it. And I went on to Twitter, you know, because some people tweeted about it. So I just went on Twitter to see what that was about. And I saw that it had already been uploaded to YouTube. And I was like, freaking yeah, that's great. Somebody already uploaded it to YouTube. So that made me really, really happy. Some people in the area came out. Some people came to the city hall meeting. And then later came to the Old Town Pub where I played some tunes. I played a little bit of Clash. I played some Neil Young. I played some Springsteen. And it was just a fun celebratory after event. You know, comedy's my craft, music's my hobby. So, you know, I just kind of played some cover tunes. We had a good time. And yeah, so I'll give a summary of what happened, and we have a submission from 4 days ago about municipal internet over here on the Reddit. So we'll start there since we're on the topic of net neutrality. And I'll kind of tie this into what I did. So this was submitted by Placone, and the disclaimer here is Ajit Pai hates broadband internet. Joe wants to know how many people came out to talk to the council about municipal internet. We had about 10 people. Not everybody spoke, but a lot of people did. And yeah, we had about, I want to say like 10 to 12 people total. What happens at city council next? So what will happen next, based on the meeting I had in my community, I made my case, and then somebody on city council, there were two people on city council that kind of spoke out in favor of it. One guy was like, this is a good thing. We should have this. Another person also echoed the need for it. So I took down both their names, and the one gentleman suggested that it be added formally to a municipal agenda.
I would ask maybe municipal services, if Chair McCost would be open, think about putting the discussion of municipal internet on the agenda at some point.
Absolutely, happy to. We have in the past, and happy to put it on a future agenda.
So my next step is to follow up, find out when it'll go to committee, when it'll be on the municipal agenda, and show up there and basically make my case again and try to have even more people with me. And, my hope is that this works out, and that hopefully other folks will see what happened here, and they'll learn from the way we did it, or learn from whatever mistakes we make along the way, and do the same thing in their community. The fact that I was able to announce it on a big platform like the Jimmy Dore Show certainly helped, because it did help get a lot of people, a fair amount of people out. Like the city council really noticed. They noticed, well, a lot of people are here. We all sat in the same cluster together. We all had the same cause. So they had, at least 4 or 5 comments on everybody hammering for municipal internet. So that's a good thing to do. But, you can also just kind of do that in your community. Just attend meetings, just meet up with other people who have those similar interests and plan to go together at the same time. So here's what's going on. FCC Broadband Committee wants to restrict publicly owned networks. Ajit Pai is accused of tilting Broadband Committee towards industry representatives. So we've already talked about this. This is the FCC. They're trying to make it harder for cities and towns to build and operate their own internet services. The Broadband Deployment Advisory Committee was set up by the FCC last year. Is now releasing draft versions of its recommendation. And the mayor of San Jose, California, quit the group today out of frustration that the recommendations favor the interest of private industry over municipalities. The problem became particularly apparent at our most recent meeting in D.C. This is the San Jose mayor speaking. One working group, which did not have a single municipal representative among its 30 participants, created a draft model state code that included provisions to eliminate all municipal control over when, how, and whether to accept industry applications for infrastructure deployment. Another working group had an industry representative dramatically rewrite its draft municipal code in the 11th hour, pushing aside the product of months of the working group's deliberations. The result in each case were provisions that plainly prioritize industry interests. It has become abundantly clear that despite the good intentions of several participants, the industry-heavy makeup of the BDAC will simply relegate the body to being a vehicle for advancing the interests of the telecommunications industry over those of the public. So that's what we're dealing with here. Basically, to sum that up, the FCC wants to make it a lot harder to do what I went and am trying to do last night. What I went to do last night, the FCC wants to make it very hard for people to do that. They don't want municipal internet to be an easy thing for folks to build. In fact, they're putting red tape so that it's not permitted. They're having these laws pre-written. They're having these contracts with municipals that, hey, we'll build infrastructure here, but you can't build any residential municipal internet for X number of years. They have that kind of stuff out there. However, when those agreements were made, when those contracts were written, you know what we did have? We did have net neutrality. We didn't have this blatant repeal of net neutrality. So any municipal, mine included and yours, can come back with the argument like, hey, you're now price gouging the internet. You're changing the service that you're offering. That makes our contract null and void. That's something that a city could come back with. Whether they will or not, I have no idea. But that is something. So yeah, to sum up what I did, I showed up at the hearing. And during the public comment sections, I said my piece. And I made my case. And then after that, they responded, which they did. 2 city council people seemed in favor of the idea of municipal broadband. So, you know, just to sum up what I said earlier, because I know a lot of people just kind of signed on, our next step in my community in Pasadena is to go to see when it goes on a municipal agenda, see when they're going to bring it to committee, and show up for that. And hopefully show up with even more people and with even more testimonials as to why this is a necessary thing. And we're just going to document this process the best we can. I may or may not succeed. Last night was a good start. I was happy with the start. I was glad that city council seemed receptive. You know, and I spoke their language a little bit. I brought up how this is a good community investment, because it is. This is a win-win for everybody involved, except for, you know, the cable companies. But this is a win-win for everybody else. This is a win-win for the city. This is a win-win for the community. This is a win-win for the citizens. It could have gone far worse for sure. Dem Socialist says, yes, it most certainly could have. And Kim says, congrats, Ron. It's big to take the first step. Yeah, I mean, you know, and I certainly had a lot of help from the community. There were some people from JPL, which is a big, kind of like a big tech organization, to say the very least, here in the community. So having somebody speak from that perspective was very helpful. You know, that carried some weight. There were also educators that spoke about it. There were also, you know, just kind of concerned community members. There were even people that kind of lived a little bit outside that said, look, if Pasadena led the way here, I would move to Pasadena. I would proudly move to Pasadena. And there's some truth in that, you know. I mean, I'll be honest, I've been following this story very intensely, and part of me did honestly think, man, Fort Collins, Colorado would be a really cool place to live.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. That was a clip from Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. What does that mean? That means I log on to a stream and people tweet me articles over on Twitter at Ron Placone, or they use our Reddit subsection, which is just Get Your News On with Ron over on Reddit. And that's how we build the show. I'm seeing all these articles for the first time. We are literally getting our news on together. Follow me on Twitter at Ron Placone so you can participate. And this show streams live every Tuesday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So please do tune in. If you want to support this show, you can do so over on patreon.com/Ron Placone, where for as low as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive podcasts every week, exclusive videos, free tickets to shows when I'm performing in your town, and more for as low as $1 a month. Please do consider it. Thank you so much for your support. This has been Get Your News On with Ron.